And for that hour and day it is not known to the angels, neither the Son. But be prepared. Today, in the beginning of the Mass, I said to you there is a constant contrast between the first reading and the Gospel. In the first reading, we find the prophet Daniel, who speak in a very revelating time. At the time, the Jewish people were going through a very hard time. At the time, 2 centuries before Christ, the Greeks has come, and the leader of these Greeks was Antiochus, who was a very wicked man, who really wants to destroy the culture, the religion, and everything that associates with the Jews. At this time, many Jewish people gave in, but those who remain faithful, they are the one who are called the remnant, who is going to really continue on the promise that God made with them. And so in this atmosphere that he is writing, he is giving us the gloom of what's going to happen. Those who survive, those who are the elect, are going to go to heaven. But those who are going to rise with shamefulness, they are going to be condemned. And that is terrible for us as Christians to take it as a model of the last days of our lives on this earth, and what's going to happen to us after we leave it. On the contrary, we have the gospel today, and Jesus giving us all this, the moon and this and the, take that away, because that is not the message. The message is, when the Son of Man comes, you will know it. In other words, there will be no time to question if it's he or not. As the fig tree show summer is here, by the tenderness of the tip of the tree begin to bloom, because it begin to leaves come out. We know that summer is. So do we know when the Son of Man comes. But in order that this day will not take us by surprise, we need to be ready. And the vigilance that we have to have is very strict. It's not something that we take it or leave it. It's either we are with Christ or we are not with Christ. Because this is going to be the evaluation of that judgment. That at that time, when we are going to appear in front of God, either on our own judgment, personal judgment, or the universal judgment, both times are going to be either a joyful time or a very shameful time. Remember that Jesus is speaking about coming. The fall of Jerusalem in the year 70, and also the coming of Christ at the end of time. Now I'm going to explain to you that. Remember that Jesus came from the Father, because the Father so loved us, and he gave us his Son. And because he gave us his Son, now his first coming, as in human flesh, is going to be the one who are going to reveal his love for us. And those who accept him are going to be the one who are not going to fall with the walls of Jerusalem, but they're going to live. The second coming of Christ is going to come to really redeem all the human beings, especially those who have loved Jesus so very much. And that's why when I read that letter of St. Paul today to the Hebrews, we see that he said that there was lots of priests in the Old Testament who came day after day to offer sacrifice to God. But their sacrifice cannot diminish the punishment of sin. But then when Christ comes, offer one sacrifice, and that sacrifice is eternal. It's present then, it's present now, and will be present tomorrow. Because his sacrifice is a divine sacrifice, a sacrifice that was done by a divine person. And that's why he said, if we offer this sacrifice, he is talking about the gathering of Christians around the altar and to renew the sacrifice of Calvary, we are going to redeem the lot. Redeem lots of people. And that is what the author is trying to bring out there. That the sacrifice of the old, because the priest has died and has to be replaced by others, has to be renewed day in and day out. But the sacrifice of Christ is one and eternal. Now from these three readings, what we are going to learn. Remember, the church is moving towards the parousia, is moving towards the coming of Christ. And the coming of Christ does not end this Sunday, because even next Sunday and even in Advent continue. Because the cycle of the church is not something that we cut off, it's like a cycle that continue on. Okay? So when we speak about the parousia, we're not speaking about this Sunday. Jesus is saying to us, I am coming. But every day of the week, every day of that is called Sunday, we call it the day of the Lord. That's why it's called Domenica. It's called the day of the Lord. That the Lord is coming. That's what we say after the consecration. The Christ who died is the Christ who is living now, and the Christ will come again. And that Maranatha Jesu, that means come Lord Jesus, is something that the church sings it very beautifully and expect him to come. Because his coming, for us who believe, is going to be a joy. But unfortunately for those who don't believe, there's going to be a curse. And so what is the line we take? The line is that we need to be prepared. That we need to look into self, especially now that we are approaching Advent, and see who we are in relation with God. And let go of those things. Because sometimes, you know, Advent is Christmas, and Christmas is giving, giving, giving. Yes, giving, but you, what are you going to give to him who loved you so much? So in order that you will be blessed at the end of the journey, when he comes, you need to really be prepared. Be prepared by letting go of sin, as we say in the opening prayer. Let go of sin and welcome the Lord Jesus. And welcome the Lord Jesus in his commands, in his acts, and in his love of compassion towards others. This is what going to remind, this is going to be our judgment. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was homeless and you clothed me. I was without nothing and you opened the doors for me. And I will say to the Lord, whenever you did it to the least of my people, you did it to me. You know, when I speak about this Sunday, I always think about Don George Preka. Don George Preka is Father Preka, a Maltese saint that Benedict has elevated to sainthood. And he used to say, when he used to come and talk to us, because he made those we call them the missions. You know, at the end of the missions, after his society speaks for 15 days, he will come to say the Mass. And he used to say this every sermon he gave. If you think about the last 4 things, you will never sin. And that is death. That one day you have to leave this world. You're not going to keep accumulating what you have. So whatever you have is going to be left behind you. Number 2, you are going to render a judgment. You are going to face God for what you have done. Have you accepted Jesus in your life? Have you lived that love that he asked you to live, and to celebrate that love with others? And then is the destination. Where are we going to go? With him into glory? Please God, I hope so. Or you are going to be away from him for eternity. And eternity is not 20, 60, 80 years. It's forever. And that's why Don George said, if you think about these 4 things, you will never sin. And I explained to you a little bit before I close. Because if you think that you are going to die one day, you are not going to be nasty to people. You're not going to be. You're not going to do people harm, because you know that today or tomorrow is going to come to a surface. Whatever you do, don't tell me I did it out of my human fragility. You have to make it up. Judgment. This is not something that you are going to talk to me because I see the outside of you. God see the heart. And so everything that you have done is going to be accountable for you. The destination is joy forever with him. People are going to raise to the glory, or they are going to raise to disgrace. Which direction you want to go? And if the direction is to be with Christ forever, then you live by the precepts of Jesus. And that precept is that I come from the Father to shower my love and mercy to you. So we return. You show it to others.